When I started my consulting career in 2001, there were 3 skills to learn in order to get promoted to manager. And they were pretty simple. Skill number 1 was mastery of the subject, and that in my case was project management. I can tell you still today by heart what I learned back then in the courses. Skill number 2 was to work with people and with clients. And it had to do with interpersonal relationships. It had to do with direction versus delegation. And it also had to do with cultural acumen, bridging an international network. The 3rd skill was to be able and take accountability and responsibility for business results, which in my case was a profitable project. Fast forward 20 years into 2021, March, 2nd COVID lockdown, and look at my daily life and look at the daily life of my colleagues and my teams. Everything has changed over those 20 years. And I found myself in a situation where I had a transactional job, where I engaged with teams and clients on a 30-minute basis, sometimes 20 video calls a day, interacting with them on a basis of come and go. It was at that time when we as a company and I as a person understood that the leadership skills I learned back then were not enough anymore, and something was missing. And it was missing, obviously. People left their jobs, people took leaves of absences, and people actually fell sick because the intensity of work and the intensity of the interactions, powered by platforms that allowed a visual contact but still were telephone type of conversations, just wore them out. So that was the moment when I relearned my leadership skills from an IQ basis, being smart about stuff, to an EQ basis, which was being emotional and empathetic about how people do, how people feel, and how the circumstances of everyone might impact their availability or their ability to go the pace that we went approximately a year ago. Now fast forward with me to 2030 and imagine an ordinary life of a hotel manager here in Lausanne. The ordinary life will look as follows. The hotel manager will stand in a banquet room and discuss with his co-workers while robots are sanitizing the plates and setting the tables. Suddenly, a holographic assistant, it's his assistant, appears next to him, shows him the list of purchases for the banquet to sign off, and shows him the updated guest list. At the same time, she reminds him that he needs to come to a construction company sign-off for a project they have going in a hotel in Geneva. Upon hearing this, he goes to the office, puts on his VR headset, is greeted by a virtual assistant in the lobby, and led to a room, which while he enters, transforms into a real-time image of the construction project in Geneva. It is filmed in real time through a drone that hovers above the scene, and he meets virtually with the head of the construction company, showing him the latest progress, and layering over the image that they are seeing an architectural drawing that comes out of the Swiss Building Information Management Cloud. While checking that everything has been done as discussed, He gives the approval to the construction company representative to go and process the further work. He goes out of that room, back to the lobby, takes off his VR set and walks back to the banquet hall, where he continues to supervise the progress of the preparations for the evening. This scenery that I'm talking about has to do with platforms, and it has to do with platforms that are emerging and developing today. I'm talking about the Metaverse, or I'm talking about what we at Accenture call the Metaverse continuum. It is a continuum of technologies that span from digital twins, artificial intelligence, holography, data analytics, blockchain, up to virtual reality and real-time interaction. And they will determine how our work looks in the future and what kind of experience we can create for ourselves, for our clients, and for our teams. In other words, the developments we're seeing that will confront us in the next 10 years will be the replatforming of the internet into an experience space in which we can freely move and create experiences based on all the power of digital technology that's conceivable today. We will also meet in the metaverse, and we will meet our colleagues and teammates there. Think for a moment about what you know about hospitality today. There are individual smaller pieces of those elements of the continuum, of the metaverse continuum, already out there. You have connected smart ships that help passengers navigate through the offering in the ship. You have connected ports that can synergize the fleet schedules, the passenger needs, and whatever else is going on in the ports. You have resorts like Vail in Colorado who have decided to put their entire resort as a digital twin into the metaverse in order for future guests to get real-time feeling and understanding of what Vail looks like and what they can do there. They couple their seasonal planning to data which they extract from meteorological data sources in order to plan better for artificial snow, etc. By doing that, they plan to extend the season in Vail by 25% in time duration. Now let's think about the implications for us and for us as individuals. The metaverse will allow and also enable digital twin representations of ourselves. As in the example I mentioned earlier, we can appear as holograms at any point in time in actually physical space, not only in the virtual space. It goes as far as people can sell their representation, physical representation, as an avatar into a platform to be used, for example, as a virtual worker or a virtual assistant. Now imagine what that needs in terms of a precondition. It needs trust, it needs safety, it needs security. It is all going to be powered by blockchain technology, and you will be able to decide for yourself whether you trust or not into the company or the enterprise that you sell your avatar to. Now, what does that mean for leadership today and in the future? The leadership skills that we need to adopt are going to be much more technology intensive than they have ever been before. Mastery of the subject, my item number one of before, will mean you need to master the implications of technology onto your work or onto your industry. If you don't do it, you will be in a space where others do it for you. Managing people will create a completely new challenge for leaders because they will need to deal with a mixture of people and machines. It's the human and machine interaction and distinction that will play a big role for future leadership, and the ability to navigate the human and machine interface is going to be at the center of exerting empathy towards the physical teammates that are still going to be around and that will still have their jobs. Creating business results will move away from economic profits only to delivering responsible business results. Imagine what kind of abuse can happen if you mistreat data, if you misinterpret data, if you misuse the digital representation of physical people who have sold their identity in a trust that it will be treated respectfully and responsibly. As a summary, it means that having moved from IQ to EQ, the next level and the next frontier for leadership is actually developing the TQ, and that's the technology quotient. So I want to leave you with some food for thought. Imagine for yourselves, we are in 2035, and I would be just the digital representation of Marcus. And Marcus would now walk up the stage next to me and be standing there too. And I would pick one of the audience to come up here on stage and discuss with both of us how the performance of this speech was. This is the world you're going to face in a decade. And you'll meet me in the Metaverse. Are you ready?